everybody. Welcome to Talking to Heartland, where we are diving into the show Heartland, and we are now in season 2. Very exciting. I'm film critic Rachel Wagner, and Amy's here.
Hey, guys.
And Michelle is here.
Hey, everyone.
Yes, and before we get started into the season, we have a little bit of news when it comes to Heartland. Amy, what did we have announced this week?
So this week we got on Amber Marshall's Instagram story, who plays Amy, that they are starting production on season 14. Amber Marshall is on set, as well as Michelle Morgan, who plays Lou. They're back on set, a bunch of the other actresses and actors. So if you're up to date with the current season, so I don't think Rachel will know who these people are, but the actors who play Georgie and Quinn, they were on planes yesterday going back to Calgary. And a bunch of the other cast are on their way back to Calgary to film season 14. And so they said on Amber Marshall said on her story that hopefully we'll be getting season 14. Well, Canada, let me rephrase that. Canada will be getting season 14 sometime in the winter of 2021. So I'm assuming that's sometime around, because March is the end of winter in Canada. So I'm assuming sometime around March, y'all will get it in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
That means for us here, or me and Rachel in America, I'm assuming we'll get it in the fall. That's what happened last year. I think last year we got it in October. We got season 13.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure what that means for you, Michelle. I don't know if you know when normally the new seasons are released where you are. But
I have no idea. I follow a website that is sort of UK Netflix thing, and it'll kind of update every single day and it'll let us know, and that's pretty much when we know. We never get announcements like months and weeks ahead, so it's kind of frustrating.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping, because we have up to season 13, so I'm hoping it won't be too long.
And I actually think you guys got season 13 before America did.
Yeah, I think we did.
Yeah, so actually you might be ahead of us.
Well,
over here.
Either way, it gives us plenty of time to cover the show. So we good.
We might get there by like October if they release it in October.
Yeah. So that, since we have 214 episodes to cover already, so it's good news for us. Well, that'll be fun. Hopefully everybody can be safe as they're filming the new season. That's of course the most important thing of all. And so, all right, let's dive into season 2. The premiere for the season was called Ghost Horse, and this is sort of set up from the beginning as your wild Mustangs are sort of fighting, along with Ty is also fighting with these motorcycle gang people. Did you think that was an effective analogy? A metaphor? Yeah. Worked for you. Did you like that, Michelle?
Yeah, they kind of tied the horse and tie together right from the get-go.
And they're all planning Amy's surprise birthday party for this episode, which is fun. And this is her 16th?
Yes.
Sweet 16. And we have a new ranch hand, I guess you call him, with Caleb. What do we think of Caleb? Oh, Delicio Caleb, whatever. What do you think, Amy?
Well, at this point in the series, I didn't like it very much, but but yeah, based on these 3 episodes, not my favorite character, but I gotta tell you, he grows on you. He does.
Ooh.
So
You like Caleb O'Delicious as a nickname?
I do. It kind of fits Ashley's character more than it does him. You just expect that from Ashley at this point. But I really like Caleb. Again, it was kind of whiplash seeing the beginning of him, because he's not the best. He's not the best in the beginning, but yeah, like Amy says, he becomes one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, I thought Caleb O'Delicious was a little bit of a reach there for Ashley, but in the nickname department, but
not the best one.
Yeah, I mean, she it seems like she just likes any boy. Like,
yeah, Pretty much.
Pretty much. Like there's no yeah. And so Mallory is a big character in these 3 episodes. She has decided that she doesn't want to go to camp, that's like the worst thing ever, but she wants to stay with them for the summer. And Amy, what do you think about Mallory?
Well, I think it's cute, and it's just, you know, like we were talking about last week, like the neighborhood, like family community idea, and she's like, I don't want to go to camp with other children and all this other stuff. I forget all the reasons she gave, but I was like, oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah, she's like, there's bugs and stuff.
Yeah. Like, there's not bugs in the barn. Like, come on.
Yes.
Oh, goodness.
Could you relate to Mallory there, Michelle?
Camp isn't really a concept here, so.
Oh, really?
Everything I know about it is from movies.
Yeah, I would do just about anything to avoid going to camp. So I'm with Mallory. I'm with her there. I mean, it's not a rough camp, so
yeah,
probably, which isn't as bad as I hate sleeping on the ground.
Oh goodness.
That I'm not a camping person. If y'all listen to our episode on Parent Trap, you'll hear more about my feelings of camping in Marissa. But yeah, I'd be someone that would be super easy to submarine like they do in a Parent Trap.
Oh my goodness.
So if I ever date anyone with kids, they better not watch that movie. they can get a long way.
I'm more into glamping.
Yeah,
I could do that. I could do glamping.
Yeah. As long as I'm just not. I love it in Parent Trap when she says, "Get me out of the stinking fresh air." It's my favorite. Okay, but yeah, Mallory is the best. She's probably my favorite character. I just think she's so funny. And I love
awesome.
that her and Jack's relationship, I think, is really funny. And yeah, and then you have Lou, who is decided to open an equine retreat, and she gets the loan, and it is co-signed by Tim, and he also gets her some money for it, and that, of course, is not something that Jack is a big fan of, and he's not a fan of this whole idea. What do you think of this idea of the equine retreat? What do you think, Amy?
It's a dude ranch. It's not. Like, come on. Really, Lou, what did you expect? Like, come on.
Yeah.
I think it would be more considered like a corporate equine retreat if, like, specifically they bought the land and built something specifically for that, but they're adding to an already existing ranch. So it's a dude ranch.
Yeah, and it's a working ranch.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What do you think, Michelle? Does that sound like a fun vacation to go to the equine retreat?
I mean, I've seen worse ones kind of seen on TV. I wouldn't mind going to a ranch. But I think the whole idea of Lou doing this is a great idea. I completely understand why she wants to do it. She needs an outlet. She's very educated, she's very talented, and she's got nothing to do there. So I completely understand why she's kind of pushed in this direction, but I also knew everybody's reaction before it happened. I knew how everybody would react, particularly Jack.
I've been to a dude ranch once before, and I hated it. It was not for me. We had a family reunion at this dude ranch at Moni, Utah, which is the middle of nowhere. And I would have been happy if they'd had a pool, because that's just I love any kind of water or a lake or somewhere to swim. But they didn't. All you had was the horses, and that's not my thing. I don't like being on the horses. And I went on the horse, just to be a good sport. And I thought we were just going to go like around the track or whatever. No, we went on this like, we went through like water and up and down hills. And I was like,
So
it wasn't a good thing. The only thing that kept me from like freaking out was the fact that my younger brother, who's 16 years my junior, he was on the horse ahead of me. I'm like I can't be freaking out if my way younger brother is like on the horse ahead of me. So yeah, it was it was not my favorite. Me and my sister just ended up watching The Nanny and the whole time. That's what we did.
So Rachel will not be volunteering for any trail rides anytime soon.
No. But yeah, I really, and the other funny thing about the dude ranch that I went to is they were like total food Nazis. Everything had a sign in front of it said so you can only have like 1 or 2 of whatever it was, and they actually had a person there like monitoring, so if you tried to take any extra it'd be like and we're like, which was crazy for like this supposed to be kind of nice place, right? Yeah. It's like, how dare you take an extra pudding cup, like what is which was crazy. I mean, and it's not like it was even sort of nice food. It was all kind of cheap food. But yeah, it was like only 1 bologna sandwich. Keep away. So that place was crazy. And anyway, I'll have maybe some stories as we talk about the dude ranch. But yeah, the equine retreat, as she likes to call it, is all planning. You also have, they kind of set up all the characters because it's a new season. You have Soraya is entering the Queen of the Rodeo tournament. And I'm surprised that Ashley would be critical of this. This seems like totally her jam, that she would want to enter this.
Yeah, but it's the rodeo. So it's the attitude that she jumps horses. That's more fancy than being in the rodeo, I guess. I don't know. I don't think it matters, but
I would think she would want to, like, she seems pageant all the way to me.
Yeah. A little bit, yeah.
Right? It seems like she would be, and it seems like Val would be a total pageant mom.
It feels like if they weren't as well off as they are, they could probably be doing the pageant thing as well, but because he's get access to all the most expensive everything. She's got the most expensive horse, so she's going to show Amy up as much as possible.
Yeah. So Jack is against having this equine retreat, whatever.
Shocker.
Yeah. And he particularly she wants to use his there's these shacks on the land, and I guess that's more next episode, but anyway, so he's not a fan of this whole idea. And she's trying to get him to have like a business center and to build cabins, and he's not a fan. And so we also have this ghost horse. What was this whole thing with the ghost horse, Michelle?
He was from the episode with the, what were we calling them? The bad cowboys?
Yeah, the mean cowboys. Yeah.
He was from that episode, and he and Amy and Ty kind of had this connection immediately. They managed to free him along with a bunch of other Mustangs, but he really stood out because of his markings. I can't remember the name of the type of Mustang he was.
I believe he's an Appaloosa.
Yeah, I can't even say the word, so thank God Amy's here.
Yeah.
It's a very unique looking horse.
Yeah, very, very unique. And so Caleb tells Amy that women can't gentle a Mustang, that they don't. And how did you feel about that, Amy?
Excuse me?
Well, he says that that they just don't have the size or that a Mustang will respect, I guess, or something like that. He says.
Yeah, but I mean, come on, Amy's character, like, you're gonna tell her she can't do something, she's gonna be like, oh yeah, you just wait.
Right. Yeah. And
Watch me do it.
I guess you can run the problem of sort of like half gentling the Mustang and then leave it so it can't like survive on its own, and it can create all kinds of problems.
Yeah, once you commit to doing something like that, you kind of have to follow through, because otherwise you could leave the horse without, like, in the in-between phase, like, it can't be around humans necessarily, and it can't be out in the wild by itself. So what does this horse do? Sit in a paddock for the rest of its life? Like, you don't. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think they mentioned, I can't remember in which episode they mentioned it, but they mentioned that in Colorado that they have the penitentiary, the inmates gentling the training the Mustangs. And if you want to see a very good movie about that, you should check out the Mustang from last year with that. It's very good about this one particular inmate played by Matthias Schoenhardt, and his experience with the horses. It's a really good movie. It's all about that whole program, and he's a very, very angry man, but the things he learns through the horses is really good. So that's like a real thing in Colorado that happens. And so I don't know, this was interesting, and they're trying to kind of connect it with Ty, and Ty's dad is getting into trouble. And so Ty, his hope was that he could somehow change his father, get him to not behave this way.
I guess. I mean,
I don't think he fully knew what he was getting into when he left Heartland. I think he kind of had a fairy tale version of what was going to happen when he got to his father, only to find out that his dad was kind of up to the same stuff.
Yeah.
You know, when they kind of left in the first time. But Jack did kind of prepare him, but I think he was kind of had his head up in the clouds a little bit.
Because he's off probation, and so that's why he was like, well, I better go home and try to work with his dad. But we never got to see his dad.
Yeah, and we never got to find out what was in the letter that he got, so we don't know what he was kind of promised if he did go find his father. So
right. So Jack ends up agreeing to the equine retreat begrudgingly, and and then we get the surprise party, and that was fun. I thought, fun moment. Have either of you ever had a surprise birthday party?
No, thank heavens.
Oh God, yeah, thank God. I think I would have been mortified.
I never have either, but I'm not a big fan of surprises, so.
I'm surprised he's trusted Mallory with the information.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. It's just, I mean, it would be fine, but I feel like a lot of times with surprise parties, the joy isn't enhanced that much by it being a surprise, and it always ends up leading into trouble, because then people feel like, oh, you're ignoring me, you're not doing anything for my birthday. But they do get Caleb to ask her on a date, so I guess at least she didn't feel completely forgotten. And so then you have you have Mallory's dad singing at the party, and she is super embarrassed, but I thought he sounded fine.
Well, he's played by a country singer named George Canyon, who's like an actual country singer. I think he was on like, I don't want to call it Nashville's Got Talent or something along those lines. He was on a show like that. Oh, Nashville Star. He competed
Oh, he
on
was?
that actor.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's like an actual country singer, which yeah, I Googled that, by the way. I don't actually just know that.
I think Miranda Lambert was on that show, if I'm
She
not
was,
mistaken.
something like that, yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So that's legit. Yeah, I mean, I think it's just the thing when you're that age, when you're Mallory's age, whatever your parents do is lame. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter if they're actually good at anything. Like, your parents are continual embarrassments. I know. My dad is the type of person who will, whenever there's sort of a party or a crowd or anything like that, like he'll have a story to tell, or think like he's very charismatic, my dad. And so yeah, I can relate to Mallory on that level.
Yeah, my dad's the same. Absolutely the same. If he was at something, he'd be the first one to ask a question. Or,
Yes.
oh my God, seriously. I remember when I first started going to conventions and things like that, I would get him to kind of come with me until I kind of met friends. I would drag him along because he watched all of the same kind of shows. And he would literally try and push me up to the microphone to ask actors questions, and I was like, oh my God, no, absolutely not. And he was like, why would you spend all this money and not ask a question? I was like, oh my God.
You're like, why don't you go? Why are you pushing me to go?
Exactly.
That's funny. Yeah. I mean, I'm a pretty outspoken person myself. I kind of like my dad in that way, I have to say, but as I would certainly not have owned to that as a teenager. I was very like, oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed. Yeah, he used to have this. My mom used to teach used to teach church classes for the teens, and he had this whole outfit that he would wear, or that he that he was like a basically like a biblical kind of character, and he would do this whole like speech and everything, and one time he went over to our neighbors after and he did the whole thing for them, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed. But anyway, yeah, it keeps life fun. Those kind of people. But so Mallory it really wants to stay, and Jack says, that you can stay, and we get a lot of Scott and Lou action. They're getting pretty intense.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be an exciting season, I think, for them. And Jack leaves to go help Ty, and so that's the end of this episode. We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. They're the good folks over at ModCloth. And at ModCloth, we make getting dressed fun. Back to being independently owned, we're all about perfect fits for every body. Unique, mood-boosting prints, vintage-inspired, versatile styles that make you look good. But more importantly, feel good. Find your joy at ModCloth. And one of the things that impresses me the most about ModCloth is the number of sizes that they have, going all the way up to 4X on some items, and then extra small, and so they really have something for everybody, every size, which is really nice. And also, I really like the prints that they have. There, as they said, they're very vintage inspired. They're unique. They even have some things right now for Halloween, the Happy Hallow Queens sweaters and jewelry and other things. And they have outerwear. We're going to be looking to get for fall, going to be getting a coat. Then you can find something really nice at ModCloth. So it's a great place to go to support and to find a unique style so you don't look like everybody else. To get 20% off your purchase of $75 or more, including sale items, go to modcloth.com. That's modcloth.com and enter code Hallmarkies at checkout. The promo code cannot be combined with other offers. It's a great deal. So go to modcloth.com, enter code Hallmarkies for 20% off your order of $75 or more. So then we have Letting Go is the next episode. And you have Amy and Caleb working on the ghost horse and not getting much. It's always weird to me that these Mustangs are like they're contained, but then as soon as someone tries to work on them, they go wild. You know what I mean? Like they're in the pen, but I don't know. I just think that's
well, because I mean they haven't had that human contact necessarily. So like when they're by themselves, they're fine, but then they don't know if people are there to hurt them or help them. So yeah. So Tim gives Amy a birthday present of Storm, a horse, beautiful white horse, and the idea is that Tim wants her to be a jumper and to be really intense about it. We learned that Amy's not doing great at school, and she's kind of letting that slide. And you think she probably ought to just do flat out homeschool at this point.
Yeah, I'm surprised he even thought at school.
Yeah,
because with all the demands on her time and everything like that, she probably would be better with homeschool, because then you can do it whenever you want as opposed to having to be at the schoolhouse.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so do we know why Tim is so rich that he can afford this big horse and
so he worked
Oh.
he worked in oil on the oil rigs in, like, I think they said Saskatchewan. I don't remember. I don't even know if that's on the coast of Canada. Actually, scratch that. I have no idea. Watch Saskatchewan be completely landlocked. Anyways, but he worked on oil rigs somewhere in Canada. Yeah, so he's got money from that. Is the only thing that we know of.
Okay, because I was like, he's just doing he's working for the neighbor, right? Running their
ranch,
their roundup. I'm like, how does he have all this money for this fancy horse? And I mean, Amy loves the horse, but she's just having so many commitments, and doing the jumping, which she enjoys, is a huge commitment. So that's kind of a conflict. Jack sees that and he's concerned about that. And you have Ty coming back, and Amy and Ty get in a fight. She's upset with him, which I can understand. I don't understand why he needed to just leave a letter. Why couldn't he have just told her, hey, I'm going to help my dad. There you go. That's it. Like, I don't understand why it needed to be this thing. And Ashley says, how come all the hot guys work for you?
Ashley.
Yeah. And so Lou wants to remove the storage shacks, like we said, and these are very, very old, and turn them, wants to build cabins on the land. Jack is upset about that. And then we find out that his name is actually Jackson instead of Jack, which was hilarious.
Oh, Mallory.
Yeah, Mallory finds his will, Jack's will. And that was, like I said, I think Mallory's my favorite. She's so funny. Jackson.
I love how he was like, don't say Jackson, and then she was like, Jack, just said it over and over, and she's like, why would you do that? It's like, because you're Mallory.
Yes.
Yeah, that was good. And we get this moment where Lou gives this toast, and she says, to no change, to nothing.
I think every other episode I've had like an awkward dinner table scene.
Yeah.
Every other
Right.
episode, it's like every time they'll sit down to dinner, you go, "Oh God, here we go. It's going to get awkward."
Yeah. We also find out that Amy was so upset she threw Ty's hat in the garbage, which it was Jack's hat
Yeah, I think he said it
originally.
was like
So
$50 or something.
yeah, I mean, do you understand why Amy is so upset, or do you think she's overboard?
Yeah,
I
I think
get it.
she's yeah, he kissed her and ran and like didn't say anything
Yep.
and like no contact. Like, come on, really?
Yeah.
And then he just shows up beaten up. Like, come on.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. What was he thinking?
Mhm.
And I mean,
He's thinking that he's 17.
That's right. And we get to see, so Lou decides she gets a job as a waitress at the diner, and she's absolutely terrible at her job.
Oh, poor Maggie's and their poor customers. I feel so bad.
Like pouring coffee all over the table and stuff like that.
Mhm.
That was funny. And she's just trying to do this to make Jack upset.
Basically,
Yeah.
because she's like, well, I have to get a job because he wouldn't let her build her retreat.
Yeah. And it makes Scott upset because then she's so busy.
Mhm.
And I think that he's got to realize that she's even used to this Manhattan lifestyle.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Go, 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 go. And so if he wants to be with her, he has to kind of deal with that.
Well, I think also part of that is too that Scott's job, because he is the vet. He is a vet and he has such a large area that he's the vet for because they're so spread out that like he's busy too. Like
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
schedules don't always align.
Right. And so we also get Caleb trying to show Amy how to gentle a Mustang, and but he thinks they should let go of the ghost horse. He doesn't.
Mhm.
He thinks there's no hope
Mhm.
for it. And then you have Mallory telling Ty that he and Amy should get back together. Like, it's not that simple. It's not that simple.
Mallory.
Yes. And the reason why they think that the ghost horse is not going to gentle is because he has a mare,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and so he's not going to be satisfied. And our horses, do they have mates like that? Life mates? Because some
I
animals do and some animals don't.
think so.
I
Do
don't
horses?
think so.
Let's
Maybe
Google
in
it.
movies and TV they do. Makes a better story.
Yeah, probably. I was like,
No. Horses are not monogamous,
okay. I
but they
didn't think.
do form long-term relationships within their herds.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's it then. Because it's
Yeah.
like I didn't know that because some animals are, some animals aren't. They
Yeah.
have a
Mhm.
like I think gorillas are have life mates. And if you've seen Sword in the Stone, that the squirrels, poor squirrels, have life mates. And that's when the squirrel gets her heart broken by
Oh.
Wart in the Sword in the Stone. Okay, so then Lou gets fired as a waitress. She didn't last long.
Yeah, I'm surprised she lasted as long as she did.
Yeah. I mean, what would have been truly revenge, or would really been a statement, is if Lou had gotten a job at Briar Ridge as opposed to being a waitress.
Yeah.
That would have been really. But I guess maybe that would be too far even for her. So.
Well, I think that would have made a more Amy mad than Jack. So.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so then and Jack tells Amy, you've got to let that horse go. And Jack agrees finally to fix the bunkhouses up as opposed to tearing them down for the equine retreat. And that seems like that would be way more expensive and difficult because they look so small.
Yep.
Yeah.
But anyway, then he says to Mallory, if you do a good job, I might find some room in my cold heart for you in my will. There we go. All right. So then the last episode is called Gift Horse. And this is the episode where Mallory's parents leave. And I at least finally learned their names. Maybe they had names before, but it's Jess and Charlie are her parents' names. So there we go. And and I kind of liked that she has all these bags, and she's like, and Jack says, "Geez, you got a kitchen sink in here?"
And she packs like me.
Yeah.
That made me laugh. And because Mallory assumes that it's going to be easy for her she's stayed there before, but for her to be here all summer, that's going to be super easy. But she actually ends up getting homesick.
Yeah.
And
it's super relatable. I remember in primary school, I think I was like 10, that I stayed at my gran and grandpa's like pretty much every other weekend. It was like my favourite place. I would like cry every time I had to leave, even though it was like I'd be back there in a couple of days. And I'd see them, they'd come up to the house as well, so it was just super dramatic. But I remember my mum and dad were going away, and I think when you're a kid it just feels like much longer than what it actually is. I think it was only a week. I think we were going to Spain or something, and I was like inconsolable. And my grandparents' house, and they were like, "You stay here every weekend. The only difference is you're going to school." And honestly, I just could not cope for like the first day. Like after the first day, I was fine, but that initial like, you don't have the safety of just going back to your parents. The first time you kind of feel that's a hard thing when you're a kid.
It can be. I was a very independent kid, so I never really had much homesickness, but I can certainly imagine that would be the case. So what about you, Amy? Do you relate to that at all?
Yeah, I had really, really bad like anxiety as a kid. I would work myself up so bad at sleepovers and stuff that I'd make myself physically ill. It was really, really bad. It wasn't until I was about like 13 that I could actually sleep over at someone else's house without like having a complete breakdown. So yeah.
Looking back, I used to always have the people stay over at my house, and that was probably why I probably just didn't realize at the time. I just didn't want to stay at other people's houses.
And so Amy is competing in the show jumping, and the first competition, Ashley beats her and she ends up at third place, and she's actually happy about it. Like she's fine. Amy's fine. She feels like she did her best, and but then Tim is upset about it, and Tim can't seem to not be sort of a stage mom. Or
I really he kind of turns around in kind of the end of the episode. I really didn't like him this episode. I was just like every turn I was like, oh my god. Like, and Lou and Amy were giving him such like outs all the way through. Like even when they were talking to each other, I was like, you two are so much kinder than I would be. I don't know if I would be so gracious.
Well, I mean, and it seems like he would learn that if it was already such a problem with his relationship with Lou, they wouldn't try to do it again with Amy.
Yeah, he's done the exact same thing again.
Yeah, it makes no sense. Like, what is he thinking?
I'm surprised it took Jack so long to kind of confront him in the episode, because he kind of let it go on for so long. Like, it was so uncomfortable, the scene where he was kind of berating Amy, and I was like, oh my god.
Yeah. Well, and he's trying to build a new relationship. You think the last thing he would want to do is to be all tough about this whole jumping.
Yeah. It seems like this whole thing is for him as opposed to her. You know, it's his world, and Amy enjoys being a part of it. And we'll probably see her become more of a part of it, but that's kind of his whole world, so he kind of feels like he needs that in order for them to have an actual connection, something to go do together, something to talk about, something that he knows about because he doesn't know her.
Yeah.
And then like Ty is also pressuring her with, you know, with this, and you know, she says it's all about winning now, and so he gets involved in this as well because he wanted to be her coach before, and and he also walks in on her and Caleb hugging, so there's tension building.
Yeah.
Then Mallory is not eating the food, all of her food. She's getting stressed, and she was hilarious though when she says, "Just saying the word muesli makes me want to heave."
Also relatable.
That was so funny because I guess she has her special bagels that she wants, and that making her homesick. And Amy is not showing up for study groups. She's doing badly in school. She gets a D+, I think is what it said on her test. And then we also have that Tim helps Caleb, but then Storm's ankle ends up getting twisted. So there's all kinds of problems. There's also some conflict between Scott and Lou, like we talked about. He says, "We'll catch you when you have a break in your busy schedule," he says to Lou. And they both are very busy. And Lou is looking into purchasing horses for the equine retreat. And Tim wants her to get all these fancy horses and spend all this money, and she wants to get the older horses that will be nicer to the guests and be easier and cheaper.
It's not even that she wanted necessarily older horses. She just wanted trail riding horses. She didn't need any horses that were going to be like, you know, for a specific event or anything like that. Like he was kind of going for. So perfect.
It ties into Heartland as well.
Yeah, that's true. That's because that's what Amy does, is do the rescues.
Yeah.
I forgot to write down they were rescues.
Yeah, it feels like because Lou spent all this money on, which by the way, quick turnaround on getting the dude up and running. She was like,
I know.
Yeah,
she's got those cabins awfully quickly.
Yeah. But she spent all that money on that, so he wants her to spend all this money on all the horses that they don't need. It was crazy.
Jack tells, I think, Tim, she says, "You look so far ahead, you miss seeing where they are at right now."
Yeah.
And so then with Tim and Amy, it's just he keeps pushing her and pushing her and pushing her, and it's not going to work. And she decides that she's not going to jump anymore, and so she has to tell that to her dad, and she decides to sell Storm to Nick and to give the money to Lou for the equine retreat. And so that Amy tells Nick that I just love him I love the horse too much to share him. And so that's why she decides to sell him. So yeah, I mean, it makes sense. She can't do everything.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean the amount she was doing was crazy, and I was surprised we didn't see Lou because she kind of went to university and really kind of holds her education to, you know, that's kind of her thing, that she wasn't concerned about Amy's schooling. She wasn't kind of on that. But at least Jack was. But yeah, I'm glad that she's kind of let the horse go and kind of focusing more on school and the ranch, because that's enough. And we haven't seen her help any horses other than the horse that she the Mustang that she took in. So
yeah. So yeah, so that's basically the end of the episode. And so yeah, it was a pretty good start, I'd say, to season 2. Got a lot of characters doing a lot of stuff. You feel like they have all sort of grown, and you have the whole plot with the Dude Ranch, which I'm sure is going to be basically the main catalyst for the season.
Yep.
So very good. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on talking about this. Let us know if you're listening. Let us know your thoughts of these 3 episodes and the beginning of season 2. And if you're excited about season 14 getting filming, let us know in the comment section. And we had a lot of requests for interviewing Heartland talent. We'll see what we can do in that respect. They're all filming now, so it'll probably be pretty hard. But we'll see what we can do on there. But we've heard your request. We'll do what we can. But make sure you listen to our interview with Amber Marshall and from a few months back and check that out. We also have our interview with Heather Conkle from the riding team. So that's really good. We'll have all that information in the description section. So make sure you check that out. And Michelle, how can people find you?
On Twitter at Michelle R. Benson.
Great. And Amy?
On YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter at It's in the Card.
And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So check that out. Make sure you're following the podcast at Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast all over social media. And if you're listening on iTunes, please leave us your ratings and reviews. And if you are watching on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that so much too. We have our merch store, we have our Patreon group, lots of fun stuff going on. All of that's in the description section. So thanks so much, you guys, and we'll talk to y'all later. Bye, everyone.
Bye.